All right, today we're going to learn about complementary and supplementary angles. But first, let's take a look at the different types of angles. Now, this is something that we already covered previously, but let's look at it again. So, acute angles are these little ones up here. Now, they can be anywhere between 0 and 90 degrees. They can't be 0 degrees exactly, and they can't be 90 degrees exactly, but they're anywhere in between. So they could be 1, 2, 10, 15, 45. They could go all the way up to maybe 89. So if we measure from here to here, and it's less than 90, but it's more than 0, then it is an acute angle. If we measure this angle, this one here is a right angle. Now this one is probably the most familiar to you because it forms the corner of all the squares and the rectangles and everything like that. You see this one out and about all the time. Tables, door frames, things like that are all 90 degrees. They're perfect squares. So that's probably the one that's most common. And that one is always exactly 90 degrees. Exactly. Obtuse angles are bigger than 90 degrees, but they're smaller than 180 degrees. So they're anywhere between 90 and 180. They could be 100, they could be 120, anything like that. So they're bigger than a right angle, but they're smaller than our next one here, which is our straight angle. Now this is just a straight line. That's exactly 180 degrees. Now this one you definitely see in real life all the time as well. Any straight line that you see is a straight angle, 180 degrees. Then we have a reflex angle, and that's sort of like an angle that's bending backwards a bit. It looks like an obtuse angle that's upside down, but it's actually bending backwards. So that one is between 180 degrees and 360. Now it's not exactly 180, otherwise it would be a straight angle. And it can't be exactly 360 because that would be something else. It's anywhere between there. And then we have the last one, which is a revolution. So if we have a line that goes all the way around and then suddenly comes back, so it looks like there's just one line, but it's actually moved all the way around, then it has moved 360 degrees. That's one full rotation. That one's called a revolution. All right, now let's talk about complementary angles. Now we just looked at what a right angle is, and it's an angle that is 90 degrees exactly. But what if my right angle is actually made up of two smaller angles, two acute angles? So together, this angle here and this angle here, together they make 90 degrees. But it's made up of two smaller angles. Well, they are called complementary angles. So complementary angles are any number of small acute angles that when you put them together, they form a right angle. So this one here might be 80 degrees, and this angle over here might be 10 degrees. So 80 plus 10 gives me 90 degrees. So these two would be complementary angles because they add up to 90 degrees. Alternatively, this one here could be 70 degrees, which would mean that this angle up here must be 20 degrees, because 70 plus 20 equals 90 degrees. Now, it really doesn't matter how many smaller angles there are. There can be 4 like there are here. There could be 2 as we saw before. There could be 10 acute angles that make up a complementary angle. It really doesn't matter how many. All that matters is that they add up to a right angle of 90 degrees. But how do we find missing angles if they're not given to us, like here in this question? Well, if we know that they add up to 90, to find x, which is the unknown acute angle here, all we have to do is add the given angles up and take that amount away from 90. Here, let me show you what I mean. So the angles that I'm given are 30 degrees plus 40 degrees plus 15 degrees and an unknown. So I'll leave that one out for now. But so far, 30 plus 40 gives me 70, plus 15 gives me 85 degrees. So that's how much I know that these 3 angles from here to here that's 85 degrees all up. Now, if I include this last angle, I know that it's going to add to a right angle. So it must be 90 degrees all up. So what number would get me to 90? Let's find out. 90 minus 85 is 5. So x, our unknown, is 5 degrees. All right, so if I had this here as being 30 degrees and this one here is also 30, and we can make this one 20, and then I'll make this one over here, that can be 15. Are they going to be complementary? Let's find out. 30 plus 30 plus 20 plus 15 gives me 5 plus 9. So these angles here would add up to 95 degrees. Does 95 degrees equal a complementary angle? No, it does not. So in this case, it would not be a right angle. They would not be complementary. Okay, now let's look at supplementary angles. Now these work very similarly to complementary angles, except instead of adding to a right angle, they add to a straight angle. So supplementary angles are any number of smaller angles inside there that add up to 180 degrees, which forms a straight angle. So think supplementary equals straight, complementary equals right angle. So an example of a supplementary angle would be this here. If I've got one angle that's 40 degrees, another that's 100 degrees, and then the last one is 40 degrees. 40 plus 100 gives me 140, plus another 40 gives me 180 degrees. Therefore, it is adding to a straight angle, so it's a supplementary angle. Now to find unknown angles when they're supplementary, it's the same as it was for complementary. You just add up the angles that you're given, and then from there find out what your unknown one is. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So the two angles that I'm given are 20 degrees plus 10 degrees. So this question tells me that this angle here plus this angle here, when I add them together, it gives me 30 degrees. So if these are supplementary angles, means they add up to 180, I subtract the angles that I'm given, which is 30 all up, 30 degrees, from 180. So I go 180 degrees minus 30 degrees, because that's the 20 plus the 10. That leaves 150 degrees left. So M, my unknown angle up here, must be 150 degrees. And just like before with complementary, if they don't add to exactly what you're after, so in this case for supplementary, if they don't actually add to 180, then they're not supplementary angles. So this example that I've just drawn here, if I've got 50 plus 100 plus 50, that gives me 200 degrees. So this one here would not be supplementary because they don't add to a straight angle.